music stopped.
Oh my God. And what do you do when the music stops because you want to keep dancing?
Well, I know when the music stops, I watch If These Walls Could Talk.
Oh, Tim, that was great. That was just a perfect segue. That's what I love about this guy. Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Wendy Stuart.
And I'm your other host, Tym Moss.
And we are so happy to be here with all of you today. A gorgeous day in New York.
It's like spring.
It is like spring. And, you know, you and I were very affected by the weather. I think I have that sad seasonal affected disorder.
I honestly really don't.
You don't?
No, I'm fine with the cold weather.
From the Midwest.
With the clouds, and I'm okay.
Those people from the Midwest are used to snow drifts and biting winds. Not this girl. I should be somewhere where there's
I mean, the other day it was 20 degrees and I'm walking over the bridge singing like I always do.
I love that you do that. And for all of you who watched him on Facebook, those videos are great that he sings and he runs into celebrities. It's really cool.
Yeah, right.
You're really networking out there. It's not about the singing.
And I've built up like a fan base, I swear, because I was dancing, I was singing Whitney Houston, I want to dance with somebody, and I'm doing some spins as I'm walking, and here's a semi that's going by, and he's waving, going, yeah.
I think he was trying to pick Tim up. That's probably why Tim is on the bridge in the first place.
Yeah, okay. I'm looking for a husband. I'm looking for a man.
Right, looking for a husband in all the wrong places. And a shout out to my husband today, Alan Kaplan, who does all of our lighting. Alan is recovering from a surgical procedure, and couldn't be here today. So we hope.
So if we look weird, it's my fault. I tried to do the lighting.
But we're lit.
We're not lit.
But we're not lit in the biblical sense. So what a week. Randy Edelman, who's been on our show, the brilliant composer, and you know a lot of his music from movies. He came to town and he was at Chelsea Table. Beautiful concert. I mean, he was supposed to play, I think, like an hour and 20 or an hour and 30. It was 2 hours, and I loved every minute of it. The music that Randy plays, you can actually go into your head and think, what was I doing at that time? What was I going out with?
Yeah.
You know, really brings all those memories up. And we had a great after party after, and of course with Soho Johnny, Mickey Burns, Billy Hess photography. It was really, really great. And the highlight of my weekend also, though, as we are ending Black History Month, I had the opportunity to review Mandela. And the thing I learned from that is every day is Black History. It was really incredible to do a review of that show and then see how the things that happened during Nelson Mandela's time are I'm sorry to say, history is repeating itself again. And but I have to tell you, amazingly talented cast, husband and wife team that produced it, that both had like other jobs, but like us, passion. We all have other jobs, and passion is this industry. You can watch for them in the spring. I saw them at ATA, but they're going to be opening either at ATA again or another theater. So stay tuned. It was fabulous.
Absolutely.
It was
fabulous.
Fabulous.
I was unable to go to either one of those because I was in between New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and I went out and spent a weekend with my dear friends Lois, Jewel, and Doug Cortez. Yes.
Cool.
And we went to had some wonderful meals, like right on the river overlooking the city. And we were there at sunset. So we watched all the lights come on, and it was
I did gorgeous. See those pictures.
Yeah.
How
and
gorgeous.
Then we went to Pennsylvania for dinner the next night. So
where, I'm in Pennsylvania on the weekend.
Over at New Hope.
Oh, so
and Lambertville, and
that's about like an hour from me, but really, really gorgeous area. And yes, Tim, I did see that you were dining fine on Facebook.
Yeah.
I love being able to troll his events on Facebook. So, oh my gosh, when I met our guest today, let me just say that Arnaldo, who's one of the owners of PANGEA, where we broadcast from, came over to me late one night. I had way too much to drink, and he says, "You have to meet Suzanne." And I'm like, okay.
That's pretty much how he said
right,
it too.
You have to meet her.
You have to meet Suzanne.
She has to be on the show. And I'm like, okay. And I met this beautiful spirit, because that's what came through for me. She's often called a modern day Dietrich.
Yes.
She's a master storyteller, a singer. What I find so completely fascinating about her, she really has a foot in both cultures. She grew up in Germany. She's performing and living here. And her new show, which is called Fragments, is at Pangea. You can come this
Right here at
Thursday,
Pangea.
7:00, and she'll talk about her April dates, which have been added. And I just want her to talk about herself. Suzanne Mack.
Yes, if you can
Come
move over
on
just a
down.
hair.
Yes. I have to like start gluing
She
myself to
is.
the. There you are.
We're gonna get cozy. I got my arm around you.
Oh my
Cozy
God.
is good.
Yeah, wait, no, I
Cozy
like.
is
See,
good.
Suzanne's got the right attitude for our
Yeah,
show.
right?
Cozy
Yeah.
is always good.
Gemütlich.
Right. What do you call it? Canoodle.
Gemütlich.
Gemütlich. Is that
Gemütlich.
German?
It's German.
Oh my God, she's here
It's
for 2
German for
seconds.
cozy. I know. I'm already talking.
We're learning German.
I'm feeling at
I
home.
love it.
So
No,
that's
you
good.
feel at home. What?
So
what?
how are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm doing fine.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to be singing again and to be at Pangea again. It's
Yes.
been
Yeah.
too long. It's been too long. I really stopped for a while after the during the pandemic.
Well,
Mhm.
hello. Right.
I mean, who
right.
did, right?
Yeah.
And then I was also like, I don't know, questioning what we talked about this before, what am I actually doing? And
Mhm.
why is this important? And then, after time, I was like, this is important to me. I want to keep going.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
people want to
Yeah.
see you keep going.
Thank
And I
you.
think you often deal with things like disconnection, dislocation,
Yeah.
being a person that culturally you've got a foot in both worlds.
Yeah, that's right.
And that is something that
And-
Tim and I really never did
Mhm.
experience.
Mhm.
But you grew up in Germany.
Yeah, that's
Well,
grew up
now-
in Germany.
Yeah.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
ask, like, because
Yeah.
you've got your
Yeah.
show, which is Thursday, March 3rd.
Yes,
Is that
March
right?
3rd, and then we added April 9th and May 20th. But
Okay, and that's here at
Fabulous.
Pangea.
Yay.
Here at
Now, was
Pangea.
that your first show that you did since the pandemic?
Yes, that was the
Yeah.
first show.
So
It's like a paper.
just
Really?
when you first
Yeah.
set foot on that stage in
Yes.
front of
Ah,
a live
right,
audience,
yeah.
tell us about that
Yeah.
feeling.
What was that moment?
it was overwhelming.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was overwhelming. It almost threw me, I must
Yeah,
admit.
absolutely.
Because here I was, in the rehearsal room for weeks and months. You're by
Mhm.
yourself, sometimes with a pianist, but mostly by yourself. And then all of a sudden you're in a room with people again.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And
Right.
it was so emotional
Absolutely.
to step out there, to look into their faces.
Mhm.
It was just, it was really beautiful.
It is
Just to
overwhelming.
share-
It's overwhelming
share-
also.
yeah.
To share space
To share
with
space,
people again.
even without,
Yeah.
I could have just been there silent for like,
Right,
for some
right.
time. I mean, I would have just still like taken in so much.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I think
You know?
that's a great idea, like performance art. We should think about
Just
doing
sit
that.
there.
No, just
Isn't
get up
it
on the stage
Marina
and not do
Abramovic?
right,
Isn't she
Maria
Marina
Abramovic.
Abramovic.
That's who you made
Yeah.
me think of.
Yeah.
Tim, I think that's brilliant. I love what comes out of these discussions.
So I'm sorry, I had interrupted.
no,
Rashid.
it-
you
you
were
know,
mentioning
no,
German.
yeah,
so I want to
so
hear about Germany.
I
Yeah,
want to.
yeah.
I have traveled to Germany
Mhm.
more than a few times, and let's think I was on the Dutch-German border one of the
Mhm.
times. Of course, I've been to Hamburg
Mhm.
and some of the other areas in Germany.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful country.
yeah.
But you
It is a
grew up
beautiful
on
country.
the Swiss-German.
I did. I grew
Border.
up all the way in the south, in the southwest. Not
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, Southwest.
People always
okay.
ask Munich, Bavaria, and I'm like, no, it's close to Switzerland and France, two bordering
So,
countries.
so it's
Yeah,
Switzerland and
Switzerland
France.
and France.
Okay.
And it's called the corner of the three countries, because actually three countries are bordering
Mm.
each
I
other.
love that.
Uh-huh.
And it was
Right.
nice. We really sometimes we biked to France to get cheese, and we went to Switzerland to get.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
stop
chocolate.
bragging!
I know,
I
I
love
know.
that.
I know,
Nice
Tim,
of you.
right?
I know.
Jesus, I can't even
But we can cross
imagine.
New Jersey and
So-
Connecticut. So
Right, but
Not
isn't
the
there's a
same.
bridge? Isn't there like a bridge
there is a
Yeah.
where
bridge,
you
yeah.
can between the
There
two
is a bridge,
countries
yeah.
and you can
exactly. You can be with I have this in my last show. You can be with one foot in each
Yeah.
in each
right?
country. You can,
That's
like,
so cool.
there was this mark in the middle of the bridge, and when I was a kid, I was doing that. I was stepping with one foot. I was in Switzerland with the other foot. I was in Germany, and I thought it was so cool.
But that's so
be
metaphoric
in
for
two
me
places.
about you,
Yeah.
because you've always had a foot in both worlds. When I read that
Mhm.
about you, I'm like,
Yeah.
here you are, this little
Yeah.
kid, and you had the bridge,
Yeah,
and
that's
you
right.
could
That
be-
was always there.
right.
Yeah.
But your
Yeah.
history and how
Mm.
you've grown and coming
Mm.
here, and your connection to Germany, it's a foot in
Mm.
both worlds.
Yeah, it
In,
is.
in so many ways. So when you were
Yeah.
growing up in
Right.
Germany,
In small town Germany.
Small
right, in the
town.
South,
Mhm.
small town. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Now, was there a combination of like Swiss and German cultures there in that
Um,
region?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
we-
is a
Uh-huh.
combination, I would say, although it's very distinct. I mean, the Swiss,
Uh-huh.
we have a very similar dialect, the Swiss
Yeah,
German
yeah.
dialect,
Okay.
the Swiss close, but the Swiss would always know if it's that
Yeah.
it's German, it's
If
not
you're on
Swiss.
that side of the
So
bridge.
there's also
The Swiss, they're
There-
always
you know,
outing
there is
people.
a little bit. My husband is Swiss.
Oh, that lovely man I met is
Yes,
Swiss. Okay,
yes.
I take
So,
it back.
so on the Swiss, on the border, there's a, yeah, but we know we do cross because we get coffee there. They get this from
Mhm.
us. The meat is
That's
meat is
cool.
cheaper, so they always come to
Uh-huh.
us to buy meat and other stuff. So it's like it's
Cheap
it's,
meat.
It's,
They come for your. We're here for
they
the
come
cheap
for the
meat.
cheap meat. So it's friendly, but a little bit competitive, you know.
Of,
like,
of
Uh-huh.
course, but I guess it's
Yeah,
got.
yeah.
I
and who
read
wants to be associated with the Germans, right? So the Swiss.
Well, what do you mean?
yeah.
You know, I mean, with Germany's history, of course. I
Of
think
like World
all
War
the-
II?
Yeah,
and,
World War II. I felt all the European countries were always, understandably, you know, a little bit. Oh my God, Germany! I mean,
Really?
I felt-
So you could
I
feel
felt
that
that.
growing up.
I
Uh-huh.
felt that. I felt that when we were on vacation in France or Italy, and you had to say where you come from, and I said
Mhm.
where I came from, and some kids would not, you know, play with
Oh
me.
my
or something.
God.
It is interesting
Wow.
because everyone I know, like Suzanne, that
Um,
grew up there, grew up with that. With
Wow.
Definitely.
like
Wow.
it's
And-
I call it the I'm so sorry I was not a part of it. You know,
Right.
you were a victim of it
I
because
wasn't a victim, you know. It's my country's history. I
right,
mean,
it's the
Right,
country's
right.
history.
So I have to, like, everyone who is there has to kind of deal with it. I grew up in,
Acknowledge it.
I was born in 1965. You think it's like 20 years after the end of the war, but I
Right.
could still, I mean,
point.
still.
Yeah, the shadows were still
There's
there.
so
Yeah.
many shadows, and in the culture, we talked
Yeah.
about taboos a little bit before. That I could definitely sense. I couldn't link it to like any Nazi history or to my country's history,
Mm.
but I realized that there were certain things, a lot of things that were not spoken about. It
Right.
was not really
Right.
my grandparents. I grew up because I was an only child. I was an illegitimate child, so I grew up with my grandparents,
Mhm.
and there was no talk about the war. Just
No, it
nothing.
just didn't exist.
Wow.
I remember when I came home from history class, you know, learning about the 6
Did they
million
teach?
Jewish
They
people.
did teach about the 6 million.
Of course,
Yeah,
they did.
yeah.
They did. Our school took this very serious. I think by
Mhm.
then, 1965, it was okay. We have to hammer this into people's heads.
Mhm.
Never
Right.
again. Never
Right.
again. So I did bring this in, but coming home with this,
Right.
there was no, like, there was silence.
Right.
There was.
And,
Wow.
here, and here you were.
you-
You had to be deeply
Well,
affected emotionally by.
Yes.
But also,
Yes.
your generation, you would have been like pretty much the
Mm.
second generation out. Like
Yeah,
your parents
that's
would
right.
have received immediately right after.
Yeah, exactly.
So that would have been a completely different mindset.
Mm.
And then your generation, which they just start talking about it, your parents' generation probably wasn't ready. They just couldn't
No.
couldn't
it was
communicate
too
about it.
soon.
Yeah,
They
maybe
couldn't
too soon.
Yeah.
communicate about
because they
it.
were
I
a
mean,
different. They came out immediately after.
right, exactly.
After
Suzanne,
the
I was
war.
there like I
Yeah.
think 10 to 12 years ago. I think Aachen, and there were houses there. This really blew me away. That
Oh.
had who the Jewish families were that originally lived
yes.
there,
Wow.
and stones in the street dedicated to the
Right.
people that had lived in that
Wow.
neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
I mean, it's incredible. It's
Uh-huh.
absolutely incredible.
One thing that kind
It
of
is.
blew me away, I had went to my friend's wedding outside of Munich
Yeah.
in Bavaria.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Which I just
Bavaria,
loved.
gorgeous.
I
right?
loved it.
I love it too.
Gorgeous.
And we had went down to Austria, down
Mhm.
to I can't think of the name, the
Kitzbühel?
Salzburg.
Salzburg.
Salzburg. Oh my God,
Yeah,
Salzburg.
to
Oh, it's
Salzburg.
Yeah, it was
And
nice.
we were
Yeah.
up in the mountains, up in the Alps, which is absolutely.
It's gorgeous.
breathtaking.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So beautiful.
so we stopped the car so that I could get out, and I took a couple pictures, and I did the spin, and I was saying, "The hills are alive with the sound of music," and they go, "What is that from?"
What?
And I said, "Oh, The Sound of Music, the movie." And they go, "What is that?"
Right.
They had never seen
It's
or
true.
heard
Yeah.
I love it.
because it was about Nazi
Yeah.
Right.
Germany and
Which is
the
so
musical,
sad because it's such a
and it's
beautiful music.
incredible. And it never
And
occurred to me that Germany would not
Yeah.
show it.
It was
Yeah.
like they were in
So
denial
I
of it.
never even thought about
But
that.
okay,
Yeah.
Tim's bringing up a good point. As entertainers, as theatrical people,
Mm.
what could be better than to teach people in this country
Mhm.
about what happened, right? Because
Mhm.
it
Mm.
can be an issue in this country, and it is actually an issue now. There are deniers
Mm.
popping up all over. what could be better than to have a beautiful movie like that people
That's
can come
right.
and
Yeah.
learn
It's
the
such a great
history.
movie.
But
Yeah.
now you're
Yes.
aware of The Sound of Music.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, yeah, of
But
course.
only when I moved in the 90s was my
Right.
first time that I lived in New York
Wow.
City.
You
Uh-huh.
In the
wow.
90s. And
Wow.
oh my God, I lived a different life then. I was an investment banker.
See, I don't know any of this. I love this.
No, don't.
Wait,
you
you
don't
can-
want to know much
No,
about
no,
that.
we do because
So
to
you
go.
Oh
moved,
my
you
God.
moved, what
I moved,
brought
yes.
what brought
know
you
what?
here in the
Here's
first
the thing.
place?
Okay, it's a long story.
Okay.
I bet. We're
I
here.
really wanted to be a singer. Was out of the question for my parents. I didn't have the
Mm.
guts at the time to say I'm going to do my thing. So okay, I
Right.
studied literature and economics, and then my first job, I had no clue what my first job was going to be. You know, and there was this fair, this career fair.
Career fair.
And a guy
This is in
came-
Germany, right?
This is in Switzerland
In
now.
Switzerland.
Okay.
I studied at the
Got it.
University of Basel, which was right across
Oh,
the border.
Okay.
yeah.
Basel.
Wow.
So they were like, yeah, you can become a banker. And I thought to myself, if they knew I had no clue about money, I still don't have no clue about money.
Well,
But I
perfect.
was
You
like,
can become a
but they
banker.
said you can become a banker. 18 months in Switzerland and 18 months in New York. And I'm like,
Oh,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
I could be a banker.
With a
If-
job, no
I
less.
love
I
it.
think I wanted to, the idea for me to go to New York,
Hilarious.
even if it was through banking,
uh-huh.
I would take
No, I know, it's
any
brilliant.
I
opportunity.
love it.
Because I
Right.
also really wanted to get away. And it finally
Mhm.
was a
Yeah.
reason. And I thought New York would open up all these possibilities
Right.
for me.
Wow.
And
So were you
so
like
I
a
came
Credit
here in the
Suisse?
90s.
Who did you work for then? Which
Swiss Bank.
Swiss
It was a
Bank.
big
Okay.
bank at the
Swiss Bank,
time.
yeah.
Now
Uh-huh.
they're called UBS.
UBS.
I was
yeah.
working in human resources. I was recruiting people. I went to campus recruiting. That's what I did at the
What a
time.
great job.
Yeah, it was a great job. But you were asking something different. Why did I come in the 90s? You were asking why.
Well,
I
what
was,
brought you here?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
brought
And
me
this was
here?
the job.
Yeah. In the 90s, it was my job.
It was
exactly.
your job.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I loved New York. I didn't want to leave. I remember
Isn't
that.
that funny? If
Uh-huh.
did it feel like home to you?
It felt
It
home
felt
to
like
me.
home. That's what people say.
It felt home to me.
You're
And no
supposed to
one
be
asked
here.
me where I was from at the time. No one asked.
No
me.
one cares.
No one
here.
cares.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
No one cared.
Yeah. Yeah, people are from
So
all
there
over,
was-
especially in the banking world. They're from all
Yeah, they're
over.
from all over.
It is interesting though, because the passion, the burning passion to be a singer
Yes.
was in there the whole time.
Whole
But
time.
like so many, you were trying
Yeah.
to please your grandparents.
Oh yes, definitely.
And do the
do the right thing. Do the
Right.
right thing for my
Yeah.
mom. As I said, I was, and this story I want to talk about a little
Yeah,
bit about
yeah.
that because
Absolutely.
it also has to do with like what I was doing here, my first show, Reconciliation. You know, has to do with my family history. I was not only an illegitimate child. I hate the term. So my,
Mhm.
you know, it
Yeah.
was in the 60s in the south of Germany. It was a big deal to be pregnant without a father.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
Uh-huh.
always like later on to understand my mom better. I always felt like, why can it be such a big deal? Because it's better now. But I think for her, it really was.
I imagine.
Not only was it strict Catholics, very strict, my
Right.
grandparents, and also like small town. And then, you know, my mom
And she was
becomes
pregnant.
And she didn't
Mm.
didn't say who the father, she didn't talk to mom.
And how old
Mhm.
was she, Suzanne? Because that
She
plays
was-
into it too.
She was in her 30s. She was in her early 30s.
Mhm.
That's
but
so
her-
interesting because you can do that anywhere
Ah,
now, and
of
no one
course.
would use
Yeah.
the word.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Wow.
But she was so ashamed by that.
of course,
That
Wow.
she didn't talk
Catholic.
about it,
Yeah.
right? She didn't talk
Mhm.
about it. And here's the thing: she didn't talk about anyone. She didn't talk to me about it. She just, not even to her closest
So she
friend.
again just carried
She
this
carried
shame
this big
or
shame
Yeah,
with her,
right.
around
a
with
big
her. Yeah.
secret. Here comes
That'd
the
be a
thing.
lot.
She thought, okay, one day I'm going to tell her. I guess that's what she thought. And then he passed away when I was 18. He passed
Oh
away.
my gosh!
Mm.
You're your
And then-
only living parent. You lose.
And then she told me, and the thing, the impossible thing is he lived 2 blocks away from me, you know.
That's an incredible story.
He lived really 2 blocks away from me. And I remember as a child, I would always open the window at night because I liked to singing out of the window. And my grandparents and my mother would always come and close the window, you know. And
So
I
they
was-
knew that he was.
I don't think, you know what,
near.
according to my mom, nobody knew. But I talked to people later. This is a small
It's a
town.
small
in
town.
Right,
How
Germany.
he would have.
exactly.
And I realized
right.
everybody knew.
Everyone
At the
knew.
end, everyone knew.
Right.
But people, you know, talk about it behind the back. And so for mom,
But he
there was
had
a
this
lot of,
little child, and
That's
he
right.
knew.
Right.
He
That's
knew.
right.
Now, did he know?
He
He
knew.
knew.
He
He
would
did
have
know.
had
He
to in
knew.
a small
Uh-huh.
town.
yeah, he knew. And so, but he didn't have time. I guess they waited too long. My mother didn't want it. My mother said at some point, "Okay, I'm going to do it by myself." I think they had a long relationship, which they kept hidden for a long time. And I'm thinking the reason why she never talked about it ties in for me with that culture that came out of the Second World War.
Right.
We don't talk about
Absolutely.
this. This is shameful.
No matter how traumatic,
how personal, we just don't talk about it.
Right.
As long as we don't talk about it,
it doesn't exist.
Yeah, right.
But here I existed. And even if she didn't talk about it, but I could always feel the weight.
Of course you could.
Yeah,
but part of it, I'm
absolutely.
thinking, he was still in the town. Were they
Wow.
were they seeing each other at all during that period when you were growing up?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
They did see each
wow.
other. I think they stopped when I was about 12. This is when she ended it. She officially ended it. But they still saw each other.
Now, had you ever met him but not knowing?
Just as a guy who was a tennis coach in town.
Right.
Oh,
that's what I
wow.
mean.
He
But
was a
you
tennis
knew
coach.
who
I
he
knew
was.
who he
and-
was, of course.
He was your father.
He was my
and
dad,
He was your
Wow.
dad.
And then when my mom told me, she told me literally on the day of his death.
Oh my goodness.
And then she also said, I kept this a secret all my life. Nobody knows. I expect you to also be silent about that.
Wow.
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 What a
wow.
burden.
That's
A
a
burden. Now a
And-
double burden.
And you know what? And I could not do it.
Uh-huh.
Right. Good.
And I felt hurt. I thought because at the time, I was so young. I thought, wow, my mother kept this a secret all her life. And I have to kind of continue this for her. This is important. But I just couldn't do it. I just could not do it. It was just really too heavy.
Right.
So I started talking to friends
In
the area to my friends. And
how old were you when that happened?
It's 19, 19. Or we went to a cafe, and I knew that one of his sons was sitting there, and I was.
Oh, right, you went
I
half
said to my friend,
My
this is like,
half-brother.
do I look like him? And she said, what do you mean? This is Yogi Tetling. I said, but do I look like him? She's like, what are you talking about?
Oh my
Because
God.
An incredible story of
So
a
you would have went to
secret.
school with your half siblings and not even
Yes,
known it.
Probably.
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Did you only become aware of your half siblings? Like,
Yeah.
how old were you when you were aware that there were other kids?
I mean, of 3 of them right away, because I knew he had these 3 sons, and of another one maybe 2 years later. 2 years later, there was another half sister with a different woman. I guess my father was quite a womanizer.
That was kind of the lead-in for your song "I Saw at the Cabaret." For Papa Was a Rolling Stone.
Oh yes.
That was brilliant.
Yes.
I know there was
Definitely
someone
a
that
Rolling
reviewed one of your
Stone.
shows that were like, they said something like they weren't quite sure where that fit in, and reading about and now finding out more, that fit in perfectly. I can't think, you know what? Art imitating life, imitating art. I can't think of it. Right? Right. Papa really was a Rolling Stone.
Papa was a Rolling Stone.
Now,
Oh,
and
yeah,
your mother, I read that used to
Yeah.
give you fake like Christmas gifts from him. Pretending.
Yes, exactly.
Did she kept
that going? She
like
said,
as if he sent
Well,
Christmas gifts to her, and he
Do you
did.
think he
Yeah.
might have?
But she also, which is kind of
But
funny,
she said that
she sometimes forgot what she said. She made up all these stories who he was, and she made up different stories.
Oh,
And I realized after a while, because they never matched. One
Yeah.
time it was because she worked in the dental industry. So
Uh-huh.
one time it was a dentist in the northern part of Germany, and I was like, oh, a dentist in the northern part. And then the next time it was some actor that she met, and I was like, okay. And then I don't know who it was. She would always make up new stories about who that father was, and so I had a lot of fantasies about that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Who this person
Yeah,
could
the
possibly
actor.
be.
Right.
Little did I know that he was just
Oh my
down
goodness.
the
The,
street.
and the tennis
you know,
coach.
the
Now,
tennis
your
coach. Oh, my
grandparents were also in on this. Did they make up any stories, or they just didn't speak about it?
It's a funny thing. They were not in on this. At least, they were not.
Wow, they never knew.
They never knew. I mean, they knew her stories. I think they knew about the dentist, and
Right.
from.
But they never knew it was a tennis coach.
No, they never knew it was.
This is a movie,
Wow.
Suzanne. If anybody's
Yeah,
listening,
yeah.
you
Let's
need
just
to
do it.
option this story. Charlize Theron will play you.
Yes.
Oh
Right?
wow! Okay.
We'll have Charlize. No, because this is such
Right.
an incredible
Fascinating.
story, both historically
Yes, it is.
on so
well,
many
and
levels.
culturally, and
Yes,
yeah.
Tim. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Right. But it,
So, well, one thing that you had mentioned before the
Yeah.
interview was like taboos. That
Yes,
you had mentioned that
taboos.
you grew up in a fairly strict Catholic
Yeah.
upbringing.
So true. Yeah.
And that like there was things that like that just were not talked about or
Just
anything.
Right.
Do you
off
think
limits.
that
Yeah.
and now you make a point
Yes.
like all
Yeah,
taboo talk
right.
is
Yeah.
off the
It's
table.
true.
I
Yeah.
will you
Yes.
will say it, and I love that
Yes.
you broke that
I
pattern.
love it.
Yeah, me
Do you
too.
think that's because
liberating.
of your mother keeping
Yeah.
these things, that's why you don't want your children
Yes.
to
Right,
have,
of
you don't want to have
course.
any secrets from your children?
No, I don't want to have any secrets.
Mhm.
That's definitely, that comes from that time, because I
would
know
imagine.
how repressive that felt, and how,
Mhm.
oh my God, it's like I cannot even find words for it. It felt
Well, I would imagine uncertainty
uncertainty, and I also thought, okay,
Who am I?
because you're
Like,
talking
what- yeah.
identity. Yeah.
I'm talking
Right, the
identity.
identity
Mhm.
and having to
And-
hide part of your
Mhm.
identity.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
not knowing what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So your mom passed at 18
yeah.
May, when you were
My
18
dad.
May, she rest in
Yes.
peace, and then your dad.
My dad passed away
Your
when I was
dad.
18. My mom's still alive. She's 91.
Okay. Wow.
Yes.
And
So that's
still-
a piece of this
Yes,
whole puzzle.
right.
She has gotten to see you
Right.
perform.
She has come.
Oh
my
She knew.
God.
She came. She came after all that time. She came to see the last show. She can't
Uh-huh.
come right now. It was great. Oh, she came to see the reconciliation show, where I'm talking about her, of course, and I'm talking about, my father's
That's
wife.
that's a lot.
My
Oh,
father's
That's a
wife,
lot.
who she's been, is like, who was a close friend of her, and the two women didn't talk for decades. And then when I finally went to my father's wife, her friend, my mother's friend, they started talking again. So it was nice for the two women to
Wow.
reconcile.
Right.
After
Okay,
that.
this is a TV series.
Okay,
yes,
this is
right.
even beyond
Let's
a film.
But when my
It's-
mom came, no, she was very moved. She was very moved, because she was the one who was always like, no, don't perform, don't
Yeah.
sing, don't talk.
Mhm.
I think she was
Right.
afraid that I would maybe say something about that history,
Right.
But she
And-
was pleased with your presentation
Yes,
of
she
it.
Loved
did.
it,
Oh,
right.
that's
She
wonderful.
was. She
Yeah.
was. She was.
What was it like for you, though,
Yeah.
having her here?
Yeah, no.
Reconciliation,
That's
and
right.
what that meant for you.
It meant for
What
me.
was this all like for you that night, the opening night?
It was emotional to have that there. I mean, thank God I had already had several conversations with her. We went to therapy together. We did a lot of things
You did
together.
work together.
We
You
did work together,
Okay.
yeah, because it affected my life. So I think she could see it. I could not move on in my own life, neither professionally
Mhm.
nor like emotionally. I couldn't have a relationship. I felt everything was like, I didn't know who I was coming for. My identity was
God.
shaken.
Wow.
So everything, she saw that I was struggling so much.
Right.
So she realized, okay, you know what? God, we have to talk about these things. We have to come to terms somehow, And then
Mm,
and
wow.
so a lot of this was already going on in our relationship, and that she understood. It took her a long time to understand me, because she felt I'm the victim. Wasn't I the
Mhm.
victim? I'm the victim of my time. I said, no, it doesn't have to be about that you're the victim. I'm sure you're the victim of
Right.
your time, but I want you to acknowledge what happens if you are not talking to me, if you are denying me the birthright to know who my dad is,
Right.
And
Boy,
it's a
girl, you have a
birthright.
lot of
And-
chutzpah, as we say, because
Wow.
this is a lot of is
Right.
heavy stuff to break down within
That's
families. These
right.
kinds of secrets.
Yeah, it's true.
Absolutely.
That-
Well, go ahead.
Oh yeah, but what was nice for me after the first show, I was also a little bit, I was also feeling shameful to come out with that stuff, because there was so much shame at home in my
Mhm.
Right.
family.
But you did it on a stage.
And I did it on a
it's like
stage.
Wow.
And I thought that was scary. I thought,
Right.
what do all these people
Right.
think?
Think of me.
Uh-huh.
And because I'm also tying it in a little bit with the Holocaust and with this culture. What do these people?
Wow.
And people came up to me after the show and they shared their family secrets.
Wow.
And then I thought, okay, this is something that can unite
Right.
us more
Right.
than isolates, because I thought it would isolate me, but it
You took the risk.
I took the
Yeah.
risk.
jumped
You
off the
unified.
I
bridge.
jumped off that bridge, and
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
came, and
Yeah.
it was
Because that is a frightening prospect.
Yeah.
That took guts to do that,
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
because you don't know what people's reaction are going to
Well,
be,
and-
and that's wonderful.
And as
That's
performers,
wonderful.
you always think your audience is judging you. Oh my God,
Yes.
are they liking
Yeah.
this
Right.
song or whatever? You took it one step further. You were sharing family secrets.
That's
You
right.
were sharing your deepest secrets that were in with you,
Mhm.
and that you had really done so much work to start to out. That takes
Yeah.
a lot of guts.
Thank you, Wendy. Yes,
it takes
thank
a
you.
lot of
Mhm.
guts.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
But it's worth it.
Yeah,
so
well, look
worth
at
it.
you know. I met your husband here, a few weeks
I know.
ago.
Now I'm thinking,
What a great guy! You
Yeah,
met
I
right
know.
because
Yeah.
right, you
I
met a great
know.
guy.
And I'd always almost messed it up with him, because I was so messed up and I was so not ready to commit. I couldn't
Right.
have
No,
a
yeah, the
relationship.
Well, also
was
you
like,
never
oh
really
my
had.
God.
Well, perhaps your grandparents, but you never really had a
Like,
solid
see-
relationship.
I didn't see a
Right.
You
father
didn't-
and a mother.
right.
How they would.
You didn't
Right.
have
No,
that to
did not have
to
it.
pursue or to
Yeah.
look forward to.
Yeah, you're
Wow.
right.
Absolutely.
Well, you are watching If These Walls Could Talk with your hosts, Wendy Stuart and Tym Moss, and our amazing and wonderful guests, the fabulous Suzanne Mack.
Yay!
Now, we've got a few people on.
Yeah,
We've got quite a few
yes,
people
Yeah,
on,
and we got
actually.
B. Claudia on from
Gosh.
Germany. Hello,
Yes,
B. Claudia. Thank you
yes.
for tuning in.
We want to say hello.
B.
We were talking
Claudia.
about you beforehand, to say hello to B. Claudia.
Absolutely.
Now, there's a couple things that she said. One is Guten Abend
Oh,
aus
she is in
Deutschland.
Germany. Oh, right.
Comfortable.
Oh, guten Abend, Claudia.
Ah!
Just a second. I saw Teresa Sabin
Yes, we
was
love
on
it. She always tunes in.
Apollo Cabrera, my buddy Apollo.
Hi,
Yay.
everybody.
Hi. Let me see. B. Claudia Ikevelli. We love Ikevelli.
Love you,
Um,
Ike.
We do want to know. I want to move to New York. Claudia says that. Lottie Da, our good friend, she says, "Hey Suzanne, have a
yeah.
wonderful time with
Oh.
Wendy and Tim.
Oh,
You
yeah.
all rock."
Thank you.
I can't. I don't
I
know
love
how to
that
say
B.
her name.
Claudia wants to move to New York. That way we would love
Oh,
having
yes.
you. B, you would fit in so well here.
Yeah.
Now,
so
B.
well.
B. Claudia also says, and she is from a small
Oh,
town
she
too.
is. Blue
I had
hair.
blue
Oh,
hair
God.
in that town,
Because
and
So
my
funny.
divorced mom supported me
Oh.
and my LGBTQ friends always. I
Oh,
totally
She's amazing.
get here.
Oh,
Yes, that's
yeah,
wonderful.
it
That's
is.
nice
That's
to
so
hear.
Yeah, she's
nice to
great.
hear.
And Jenny
Oh, she's in
Bookwalder wanted to know if you
Bonn.
are single. No, she's married
I'm
with
not
children.
married with two
Right.
teenagers.
Yes. And Sue Stutzman says, "So nice to you, of you all here." that
Thank
we're
you.
in.
Oh,
Hey, thank you, everyone.
guys.
who-
Thank you,
who
guys.
Now
tuned in.
we're gonna why don't we take a look at one of your videos?
Yes.
But can you tell us
yeah.
a little bit about
Yeah,
the
a little
video
backstory.
before we
Little
see it?
backstory. So the last show was about immigration, and oh my God, yes, I was inspired by the current events at the time.
And when
by-
was it? Tell us when.
Oh, it was when Trump was trying to build that wall.
Okay,
in-
yeah, that's important. No, that's important
that's,
backstory.
Yeah,
immigration,
so I was like, okay, now I'm going to write about this, and how can I write about this? I was really writing from the perspective from people in Mexico and I
Wow.
was working with Gretchen Cryer,
Oh my
who's very-
God! Of course, and who
She's
she's
very good at the solo
famous broad
performance,
and very
Broadway show, taking it on the road.
right. Right,
and,
it says that and taking it on the
I'm
road.
putting my act together and
Taking it
on
on the
the road.
road, right?
Yes,
you,
yes.
you know, great. Oh my
Yes,
God,
yes.
you were working
She-
with Gretchen.
it was Gretchen, yeah,
Cryer.
yeah.
Oh,
And she is also like, she's a solo performer. So
Mhm.
it was about telling stories. And so I was trying to put this together. And then at some point she said, you know what, Suzanne, you're not from Mexico and you don't live at the border. Don't
Right,
talk
yeah.
about the things that you know.
she's
can-
yeah,
and she was like, right, I think I get it. So I was trying to put all my immigration thoughts together,
Right.
what I had about belonging or not belonging, and what I had to say.
dislocation, alienation, right?
There was so much to
Right.
say, and not only about being in different countries, people from different backgrounds or
Right.
or just
Right.
And
or-
also
and
stepping into the unknown.
stepping
and,
into
yeah.
the unknown, exactly. So that song came about. I wanted to have that one story in the show because I lived in Zurich at the time,
Mhm.
and Switzerland can be very alienating. I'm sorry, but to foreigners,
I've heard that.
it's hard to
Yeah.
get a visa there. It's hard to
Yeah.
yeah.
And it seems
Mhm.
everything is very high end.
It's high end,
very high end
exactly.
in
It's high end,
Switzerland,
yeah.
and clean.
Right,
It's
right.
clean.
It's
Yeah,
clean.
so,
So
but
I was pregnant in Switzerland, and I will never forget that story because it really happened. We were walking home. I'm pregnant, and it's a January night, and there a boy comes up and says, can you walk with me? They're after me. And
my
we're like,
goodness.
sure, you can walk with us. We took him to, the bus was up there, and she said, I have to go to the bus. And there was no one, I thought first. And I was looking, there was a group of teenagers down the street. And as I was looking, they came running towards us, and they were all like still after the boy. And
Oh
they
my
had a
goodness.
broken beer bottle in their
Oh,
hands.
and you were pregnant.
I was pregnant.
Oh.
oh my goodness.
And the thing is, like, that's something I learned while being pregnant. I had a lot of guts while I was pregnant. That was the nice thing about it.
It's the hormones pumping.
It really sucked. Otherwise, it sucked.
Empowered by an embryo.
But I felt I was a little bit like, I could be myself, you know.
Yeah.
So I was like, I had this instinct, you know, where I was like, because here there was with a broken beer bottle, and they were like around my, chasing up the guy. And I said, you know what, you were a little boy once, and I'm gonna be mom soon. You were a boy once, and you were a boy too. We should just all go home.
Right.
And I remember that he was just so surprised about this response that he dropped the beer bottle and he was holding my hand. And then I could see he's a 15-year-old guy from whatever the Balkan countries. They were not very well regarded at the time, and he was looking into my eyes and said, "Good luck with your baby, ma'am. Good luck with your baby."
Oh, wow.
And then whoosh, and they all left. And I wanted that story in the show because I felt there was such a connection at this moment.
Very human.
It was a human connection, and he could see me, I could see him, and we were just like, and then later on the police came and they were like, there's criminals from the back, and I was like, no, this is a young boy, they're 15
from the Balkans,
Balkans, exactly,
from
not
the
criminals. So that and then that had to be in the show about immigration, right? And then I thought, okay, what song? And I thought, heroes came to mind because I think we can all be everyday heroes in our lives. We can all stand up for each other. And what is it called? Social? No, there is a word for it. If you're streetwise, no, there is a better word for it. You know what I mean? You can just all, like, when you see something on the subway, so you can stand up. You can say this is not right, or this is
see something, say something.
See something, say something.
Exactly. Right? That's saying.
So that's the everyday hero.
Well, it's kind of like personal responsibility to help your fellow man.
Exactly right. That we have to be accountable.
And it's also that David Bowie wrote it when he was.
Where we can all be living in Berlin. Yeah.
Wow.
And he was on the wall. I mean, can these walls talk? He was on the wall during the show, and he was always so affected by it that people from both countries could hear it. So Heroes was resonating with me in many ways.
I love it.
Joanne Maserali says it's the mama bear syndrome.
I love it. Oh, it is. Joanne hit the nail on the. It is.
It's the mama bear syndrome. That's right.
Absolutely.
I love that word.
Well, why don't we take a listen to our wonderful guest, Suzanne Mack, singing Heroes.
Yes. It's one of my favorite songs, by the way. Here we go. Okay, video. Oh, God bless.
I will be king, and you will be queen. Though nothing will drive them away, we can beat them just for one day. We can be heroes just for one day. And you can be mean, and I'll drink all the time, 'cause we're lovers, and that is a fact. Yes, we're lovers, and that is that. 'Cause nothing will keep us together. We could steal time just for one day. Or we could be heroes forever and ever. What you say? You know, one afternoon, when David Bowie was living in West Berlin, he was looking out the window of his studio, and he saw a couple kissing by the Berlin Wall. And he found that very touching, and he wrote that song. 10 years later, he came back to Berlin to perform that song live in a concert. And they backed up the stage to the wall, and thousands of people from East Berlin came close to the wall on the other side to hear it. And he was hearing people cheering and singing along from both sides. I wish you could swim like dolphins can swim. 'Cause nothing will keep us together. We can beat them forever and ever. Oh, we can be heroes just for one day. I can remember standing by the wall, and the guns shot above our heads, and we kissed as though nothing could fall. And the shame was on the other side. We can beat them forever and ever. Then we can be heroes just for one day. We can be heroes just for one day. We can be heroes just for one day. We can be heroes just for one day.
Oh my God, that was perfect.
Oh, guys.
And especially, I know the song, I love this song, but hearing what had caused you to choose that song is really amazing. That experience with that 15-year-old boy from the Balkans and that crowd of teenagers. You know, the backstory is always everything.
It's always everything.
And that also just gives that particular song complete meaning,
right?
You know, that's where you're coming from.
I love that about my shows, and that I can always I start with a story, and then I look for a song that is all the heavy lifting for me, you know, and I or just not just the heavy lifting, but just, you know, just
that's going to
connect it to what I want to say.
Absolutely. Well, that's one thing I admire about you is the intensity of your different shows. They each have a complete story. Can tell us about your different shows real quick.
Right.
So and I'm going to hear right first where you started with your very first show, because we left off. You were at the Swiss Bank.
Right.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yes.
The Swiss Bank.
The Swiss
Okay.
Bank.
So let's.
Yeah. So you came to New York, and how did you get on the stage?
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh well, at that time I started in the evening to work with Barbara Meyer.
Barbara Meyer Guston.
Barbara Meyer Guston.
Oh, she's great.
She's fabulous.
She's a great person.
So I started working with her in the evenings, you know, because I knew her.
You wanted to sing.
I wanted to sing, and I did start to sing at Don't Tell Mama. Sidney Meyer at the time.
So you started with I
was there. I was doing a few shows, but then, you know, it was time for me to move back, and I thought I can continue this in Europe. But
so this was in your 16-month thing.
That's right, in my 18-month thing.
18-month thing. Wow.
I went to Don't Tell Mama, and I had a show. But this show was about,
so
oh my God,
cool.
it was about Marlene Dietrich, I think. Yeah, it was about Marlene Dietrich and all these songs, because these are the songs I grew up with.
Of course.
The Smile and the Eisler and all these songs, and which is great. But I love to choose pop songs right now, not just pop, but just a more variety of songs.
Well, I love that you combine the two.
I can combine them. I love to combine them from different genres. And
so that first show was Don't Tell Mama.
Don't Tell Mama.
Wow,
Sidney Meyer.
Fabulous.
I remember that.
And then you went back to Germany.
Then I went back to Germany.
Back to the same small town.
No, I went back to Zurich because the bank.
Oh,
the bank.
right.
Yeah. You had that cushy bank job.
Also my husband was in Zurich at the time. We had a long distance relationship for 2 years.
And your husband was Swiss.
And he was Swiss, and we had already met before I left.
I was going to say you were like what, in your 20s?
I was in my 30s.
In your 30s.
Very early 30s.
Early 30s.
29, 30, something. Yeah.
Wow.
And I went back to Zurich, and then I knew I couldn't continue with the bank. I just couldn't do it. And then I had to find other ways, and I was singing and had some jobs on the side. I did mentoring with young women, which was very nice.
Interesting.
Yeah. You know, find
jobs. Well, because you had worked in human resources.
Exactly.
It's a no-brainer.
So how did the two of you get back to New York then?
Oh, so he, in the meantime, he became an art dealer, and he opened a gallery in New York. And
oh my God!
Yes, he's a gallery. And then he said, "Well, you know, should we do this? Our kids were still really little." I said, "Yes, let's do it." Because I always wanted to find another way to come back to New York.
Yeah,
so I'm like, let's do this.
That's perfect. We'll have a gallery.
And I'm like, for 1 or 2 years, and so now it's been 14 years.
What's the name of the gallery? You have to tell us.
Hauser and Wirth.
And
Hauser Wirth. It's an art gallery for contemporary art.
I love it. Wow,
yeah, I love it. And I also love, I think they also really inspired me, all these artists there, to see that they were doing their thing. And I thought, maybe if they're doing their thing, I could still do my thing, and it's okay, I could see their creative process. I could see that even the most like famous artists, they all have doubts. They all have
Of
self
Yes,
doubts. Because I thought I
absolutely.
only have self doubts.
Right, right,
So I'm like,
right.
okay,
It's not all about
and
you.
I'm like, if
Right,
so and so
right,
have self doubts, so and so,
Right.
okay, maybe that's okay to have doubts.
Right.
Like so that
I don't think Andy Warhol had any self-doubts.
Oh, maybe
no,
Warhol didn't.
conscience and no self-doubts. But you really hit the nail on the head. Of course, artists
Right.
have
That's a driving force
Right.
of artists.
Right,
That's
Tim.
Yeah.
driving force.
driving
So
force.
there was it was good to see. Or like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And like I felt okay.
So you came back with the art
Yes.
gallery, and
Yes.
that's when you started pursuing
Yeah.
music
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
full
So
time.
you know,
Definitely.
Tim and I are
Yeah.
going to come to your opening receptions
Oh,
because I was just
okay,
at,
please.
yeah, I was at Howell Gallery this weekend for
Yeah.
Mark Cooper, who was really great.
Right.
But yes, we want to be on your mailing list.
Okay,
and
definitely.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, for
because
sure.
I
Now-
love finding stuff
Sure.
like this.
Now,
out about
once
people.
again, B. Claudia
Yes.
from Germany
Yeah, Claudia.
says, I want to know, is there a difference in performing in English than it would be in German, considering expressions or feelings?
Oh, good one.
Really love your guest. So she really loves you.
Yes, Claudia, there is, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
I've
would
spoken
imagine.
English for like many years, and I think I'm pretty good at it. But singing in German is always different. It's you're singing in your native language. People always tell me, "Oh my God, if you sing in German, there's another layer."
Mhm.
And yeah, because I'm more relaxed. I don't think so much about.
There's another
I c-
layer.
There is another layer.
Interesting.
There is another layer. I can't even explain it. It's like.
No need,
I
no
have-
need to. It's
I
where
sh-
you come from.
That's where I come from.
Mhm.
I have a show. Claudia, you know it. Maybe people probably. Herbert Grönemeyer, Mensch. Mensch means human being.
Yeah.
I think there's
Mhm.
a Jewish word.
It is.
same
Mensch
Yeah,
thing,
means
Mensch.
a stellar
Mensch.
human being.
Stellar human
Yeah,
being.
stellar human
Wonderful
being.
song. Mensch talks about humanity. Herbert Grönemeyer is a German rock star, and I sing this song in German because it's a healing song, and people just get it. And I tell them, just relax, don't worry, you don't understand. It doesn't matter. It's just about the music and the
Uh-huh.
words. Sometimes it's nice to hear words that you don't necessarily
Right.
understand every lyric. You
Right.
can just like take it all in.
Mhm.
And that's I'm more relaxed when I sing in German, but I'm getting there. I love to sing in English, but yeah,
But does the meaning, like say if you sang
yeah.
one song in English and sang it the same song in German,
Yeah.
would it be coming from a different place?
Interesting.
Yeah,
You know
the
what I mean?
emotional
Yeah.
base with the emotional base
Right,
change.
because you have the
Good
language.
question.
and-
Good
That's a good
question.
question.
Mhm.
I do that sometimes. I start a song in English and then I
Oh,
go into
nice.
French or so, and I go back into
She
English.
speaks French
and-
also. I mean,
or
four
like,
languages or so.
yeah, 3.5.
I love that.
And I'm still struggling with English alone.
You're doing great, Tim. I wanted to
Thanks.
tell you, you're doing great.
So yeah, I don't know. I yeah, probably that's what it is true, and I can't explain why. I feel very connected with my English songs, but there is something that when I say the words in German, something hits. I don't know.
Yeah, I would.
Right.
I could
Something
imagine.
like
I
Okay,
would
now I've got
imagine.
one for you
Yeah.
then. Your children were raised here.
Yeah.
Mm, mhm.
How does that all fit in with if your
Right,
emotional
right.
base is
Yeah.
German, what is their reaction? I mean, they're the children of someone
Yeah.
from somewhere else. I always
Yes,
wonder about that. They can never have the feelings that you have.
No, they can't.
Right,
Right.
And you know what? Deep down, I think that's what I always wanted. I wanted them to get somewhere where when they're not so
Right.
affected by all of
Right.
that.
Mhm.
Right.
So they are very much. I mean, it's the older one who was 4 when we moved. She is more European in a way. I would
Interesting.
say. And she is totally bilingual. My younger daughter is
Amazing.
more American. But I mean, both grew up
Well,
here.
that's what I
both-
was wondering. Do they
it's-
speak German and Swiss?
We speak German at home.
Yeah, you do,
and so
yeah.
Swiss or both or whatever. Yeah, we just and then sometimes we mix it over time. You mix it, but they definitely feel more. I mean, none of them wants to study in Europe. They want to study in the US.
Mhm.
Interesting
Yeah.
because our kids, I
Because-
raised a daughter here. She never wanted to study in Europe, but
Right.
both my sister and I, my sister studied at the Sorbonne,
Right.
and we grew up in the
Oh
Bronx.
yeah,
And that was a really huge thing. Kids here
Mhm.
want to go do these study abroad
Right.
programs.
Yeah.
Interesting that your
Yeah.
daughter
So-
doesn't.
So they would
feel-
understand. So do you ever, like, when you get mad at the kids, do you ever
Yes.
just pop off into German?
Oh my God,
Like,
yes.
was ist das?
Tim, that was
Oh my
great.
God! Yes, of course I do that. I swear in
Oh,
German.
yes.
Oh my God.
And of course I get mad in German, and they always tell me I'm so judgmental, and that's that you're German, you're so judgmental. They tell me all the time.
Right. It must be your German roots that make you judge others like that.
Oh my God. And I hope I'm getting better at it. I think I'm getting better at it, but it is ingrained in you. You're like watching something and like, no, that's not good. Or like about yourself also.
Yeah.
That's not perfect. No, this is not good.
Mhm.
And it doesn't help.
It doesn't
Yeah.
help at all.
But it really is amazing how our roots, like our developmental years when we're first starting, sets a big part of our personality and motion.
Absolutely.
You know, and it can affect us our entire life.
It does
Mhm.
affect you your entire life.
Yes.
You'll wake up and have
Yeah.
the realization, oh, I know where that comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
think-
also experience
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
experience it?
yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up here in America, but out in the Midwest,
Mhm.
which is completely different, out in the countryside and
Mhm.
farmland and all of that.
Wow.
And I had a dream the
Mhm.
other night that in the house I grew up in.
Mhm.
I'm like, where did this come from?
Wow, that's like wow. Yeah, I love
Wow.
analyzing stuff like that.
Yes.
I do wonder where that came from. I grew up in the
Yeah.
Bronx,
Yeah.
and all I ever wanted to do was get out. I had a great youth growing up there, wonderful friends.
Mm.
But once I got a taste of the outside world, and my
Mhm.
father took us to Europe, I was 4 years old. And then he got Parkinson's, so we never went to places like that
Yeah.
again. But Europe stayed with me, and it was just inside of me that I knew I was going to try. It's inside of you. You just can't
It's
help
inside
it.
you. Can't shake it
Yeah,
off.
yeah. You
Mm-mm.
just
Yeah,
can't
and
shut-
the thing about Germany and Europe as a whole is here in the United States. Like again, I grew up 1,000 miles away,
right.
and there's still another like 1,000 or 2,000 miles on the other side of that,
Yeah.
and just in the continental United
Right.
States, and everywhere you go, it's all basically the same culture. There are variations,
Yeah.
south,
Yeah,
north,
yeah.
that
Of
type
course.
of thing.
Right.
But in Europe, you go 100 miles this way, it's a completely different
it's
language,
totally,
a different
yeah.
culture, and
Yeah.
So-
that goes way back. And to the north, that's a completely different
completely
culture, completely different language. That's
And
so
for
fascinating.
us
to me.
here
Yes,
to
it's
learn
true.
other languages,
Yeah.
you go to
Oh, it's
school to learn the
impossible.
language. But
Right.
everyone I
You
know
don't-
from Europe is like three
Right.
languages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you're
Mhm.
growing up and it's just your mind. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Your mind can convert from one language to the
Right.
next, whereas here we have to
But-
study it in school. We never quite
and
get
you
good.
never
Yeah.
as
never
I
quite-
mentioned
Yeah, because
before.
we don't use
Then
it.
you have like you
Right.
take a bike ride over the border and you
Right.
buy your cheese.
I
So you
love
kind
it.
of need it also. You need to speak.
Right.
You know.
You had to-
because
But you
you're
learn
using
again
it.
in those early developmental years how to do that, how to pick up a language over here and a little bit of a
Just
language over there.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah,
Again,
yeah.
okay, I have to tell you my favorite German
tell me.
thing.
Oh yeah, I want to know.
Kinder eggs.
Oh my God, Kinder Schokolade.
Yeah,
Oh,
Kinder chocolate. There are, for
Claudia.
those who don't know, you can get them here
Yes,
now, but you never
can.
used to be able to. Tim, it's a chocolate egg and it's a shiny orange and white wrapper. I have it so memorized. And the
I can't remember
chocolate, I know
That
my
sounds
people I know
familiar.
from Germany said to me, Wendy, that's not good chocolate. You know what? It's 100%
I
better
love
than
it too.
Hershey's. It's so good. And in the middle of the Kinder egg is a toy.
Yes.
There's a toy
There's
in the
a
middle of
toy.
the egg. Now they started putting on the labels here, and for a while they had removed them because kids,
People
I
would
guess.
eat the toy.
Well, they didn't eat the toy in Germany, but the kids were eating the toy here. The heck is wrong with people? I'm not kidding you.
I know they had to
You're
like
right. They
educate
had
You're
to
right,
let
yes.
the Kinder eggs were off the shelf. I'm sorry. I just had to throw that in.
No, I love it.
I do love
My
Kinder
first-
I
eggs.
love chocolate. I have
Yeah.
a song in my current show,
You
Sex
do?
and Chocolate. Sex
Oh
and Chocolate.
yes,
I love it.
yes.
And I have a box of Russell Stover,
That's so
on
awful
the- on
compared
the-
to what you have in Germany.
know.
Not Russell Stover.
but it's like the Russell Stover is in the song. So we have a Russell Stover. I didn't know what Russell Stover was. I thought it was something very naughty. And then Paul Greenwood said
bad.
it's a box of chocolate.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I'm gonna buy some. I went to Rite
Ah.
Aid, and it's not so great.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's mostly I know. It's very, very sad. A
Yeah.
Kinder egg will leave Russell Stover in the dust. Oh my God! You
But
got me on chocolate.
my experience in Germany.
Yeah.
My dear friend, she was like my little sister. She
Mm-hmm.
had come over here to study and then had to go back, and I was just getting back into entertaining, into singing.
Yeah.
And we're always talking about, when we find our man and get married and blah, 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 this and that. And she goes, well, when I get married, I want you to come and sing at my wedding. And I said, of course I will. Well, years later, she hits me up and she goes, I'm getting married. And I just type back and go, I'm coming to sing.
Oh, isn't
And
that
so I
nice?
flew over,
Fabulous.
and the day I arrived into Munich we stopped by because they live out in the countryside.
Right.
Gorgeous.
And we drove out this magical land, you know, just absolutely gorgeous. And we pull into her mother's house where her mother, I think, was raised, where she lived. And we go in the kitchen, and I'm just sitting there in the kitchen, and she's got some pastries in the oven cooking, and she's pulling them out and making coffee. And I'm just like, how did I get you? I was just so German.
Fantasy, right.
Like, this was the coolest trip ever. You know, no tour guide would have ever done.
No, and the fact you were
I would have ended up
performing,
there.
you were there as
It
a
was
performer.
so cool.
How
It
cool
was
is
just,
that?
but they really welcomed me and took me in. And I think then we went out. Our first was a stein of beer, like a small, which was that big, and a pretzel with butter.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
The
yeah,
pretzel
the
where you
butter.
cut it in half
Exactly.
and put butter in
That's
it.
very-
That
that's
was
very
I had never
typical.
had that. That was so good.
Well, also the giant. Have you done Oktoberfest? I know you probably
Yes.
have. You ever?
We were
done,
there
Yes.
a week before Oktoberfest. They
The
were setting up
giant,
for it.
the giant pretzel.
Oh
they
my
had
God,
that, the
yes,
giant,
yes,
the
yes.
mother of all pretzels. I never had that, and there is like nothing like it.
Yeah,
nothing
yeah.
like it.
But that what you talked about before, like that people are baking, you know, and they
Yeah.
sit down.
Yeah.
That's the
That-
culture.
we
Yeah,
call
But it
like,
was
like
just-
coffee and kuchen, like which is
Kuchen,
basically
right.
coffee and kuchen is like coffee and cake, which is such an integral part of German
Right.
culture. People would actually really take the time and sit down and
Right.
have it. Someone would
Right.
bake this, and I always miss that here in New York. It comes out that we're trying to get more places like this,
Mhm.
but where people would just sit down and have a chat,
Right.
you know,
Right.
about like life or so in the middle
Right.
of the day. I
She's-
think New
yeah.
York is too busy probably to do
Mhm.
that, and so.
But that's what I
and-
mean. That was my first introduction
That's
to
it.
Germany.
Yeah.
Was her kitchen with baking.
With
I was just
baking.
like, this is about
Yeah.
as German
As it can
home
get.
as you
I'm
can get.
smelling it
It
while
was
you say
wonderful.
it. I know what
Wonderful
those pastries
experience.
and coffee probably
Look
probably tasted and smelled like.
Yeah.
You brought up a good point.
Mm.
I think we don't do this here. Yeah, we're too busy. But
Mm.
again, the beauty of New York, we are a quote unquote a melting pot. It's
Yeah.
all different cultures. You know,
Mm.
Germany, it is. It's just so much a part of who people are over there. You know, you
Mhm.
invite someone over and you experience, and you were a guest, Tim.
Right.
You know, the coffee. What did you call it? Coffee and kuchen.
Coffee and kuchen.
Kuchen.
We have a bread here called I grew up with called we called it kuchen bread, but it's cooking bread, and it's got cinnamon and all the kinds of things that you would find,
cinnamon rolls.
and the
Oh,
cinnamon
yeah.
rolls and all of
Yeah.
that. Very big part of the German culture,
Yeah.
and to
Mhm.
take your time and to sit and to talk and have your coffee and have your
Mhm.
cake and all of that. We rush through
Mhm.
everything here, and I agree
Yeah.
with you,
Right.
Suzanne. It's part of how we are here. I wish it were different, but I think it's getting worse. You know, this city is just moving so fast, and in my own life, I try and take the time to smell the kuchen loaf. Not the roses.
Yeah.
the
Stop and
kuchen
smell
loaf.
the kuchen
You
loaf.
tell that yourself that the
Yeah.
next time I have to take time to.
Oh, my
smell the
daughters
kuchen
buy
loaf.
cookie dough. You know the raw.
Oh
cookie
yeah,
Yes,
the roller
yes.
You
cookie
can just
dough.
like eat
Yeah.
in the fridge.
Oh yeah, they have the cookie. Oh my God,
They're
my-
American.
Yeah, they are. Nothing from scratch for those girls. No way, no how.
Yeah.
Well,
Good for them.
you're watching If These Walls Could Talk with your hosts Wendy Stuart and Tym Moss, and our wonderful and fabulous guest, the Suzanne Mack.
Yes.
And we thank you so much. We so
Oh.
appreciate your coming and
Oh
hanging
my
out
God,
with us
so
and
much
chatting.
so great.
But now tell everybody, I think down at the bottom, you have an Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get your
Yeah.
Instagram
Yes,
up there.
Instagram.
Right. My Instagram.
SMacky65 on
right,
Instagram.
right.
Uh-huh.
Cool.
Oh, I didn't say
And-
that about the. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Tom,
go ahead.
Tim. The current show, the Fragments show,
Right.
is a show about the pandemic in a way.
Mm.
Wow.
And it came really during the pandemic. I didn't know, and nothing was linear in my life, in nobody's
Mhm.
life. I guess.
Right.
I was like, okay, there's like all these fragments. The life I thought I once had, I was like falling into pieces, like everyone's was.
Yes.
You know, and I was just trying to like come to terms with that and finding ways of like, okay, what really matters, and finding also some funny, some humor in it, you know,
Yeah.
like of all these situations. And so that's what the Fragments is about. I'm coming to terms with the fragments in my life. So
Right.
Yes,
people
that's
love
fab.
to join me on that ride.
I'm going to be here in April to
Absolutely.
see that
Oh,
show
yeah, yeah.
And
because
it's right,
Yeah.
it's right here at Pangea
Yes.
on
at Pangea, at fabulous Pangea.
the
Thursday,
fabulous Pangea.
Thursday,
Yeah.
March 3rd and April 9th.
April 9th,
Uh-huh.
May 20th.
Okay.
Okay. I'm actually going to write that down. So when we leave here, I make sure I have that
I'll
on
send you. I'll
April
also send you.
9th and May 20th. Thank you. That would be great. Yeah. That's the beauty of being here, right?
Yeah.
Find out everything
Little bit.
firsthand. So, we had so many great comments today. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah,
Big
thank you
Claudia, I'm going to Germany and I'm going to come visit you.
Yeah,
Oh,
I have
I
told
will
you.
too. So start baking the
Yeah.
the pastries, and we'll
Exactly.
be there.
We're going to have cooking and coffee together.
Yeah, and I want to connect with Claudia.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Suzanne
Thank
Mack. This was
you.
wonderful.
Yeah, I love what you're doing, and
Thank you so much
And
for
keep
having me.
singing.
Yeah.
Yes.
what we tell everyone: do what you love.
Do what you
Really,
love, follow
you
your
know,
passion.
life is short. Follow
Mm.
your heart and
Mm.
and do what you love.
Absolutely.
See y'all next week.
Yay.